Breaking it down in layman's terms today, I've got a special guest. I've got Stephen Jones. Now, Stephen Jones does a lot of things. He's a marketing strategist, he's a content marketing professional, does a lot of work with clients, getting your clients and customers, getting clients and customers actually noticed through consistent messaging, whether it's blog posts, SEO, video, audio interviews. He's got extensive history and background in LinkedIn and social media advertising, Facebook advertising, website development, you name it, you claim it, community building, and a whole lot more. A true marketing strategist to get your brands and your products and services and whatever you do notice. Mr. Jones, what it do in layman's terms?
Wow, what an intro. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's
Abs-
awesome. It's awesome to finally do this virtually.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You and I have been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad that we're able to finally make it happen.
I'm excited. We're doing it through the power of video. And speaking of video, that's
Mhm.
the topic I really want to go hard in the paint. Now, you do a number of things as a content strategist, as a marketer for business
Mhm.
owners, etc. But today, the theme is video, and then we'll touch a little bit about trends in 2023 since we just started off this year. But let's talk a little bit about video. That's
Let's do it.
obviously one of my passions. So yeah, so why, from your perspective? Easy question. Why is
Mhm.
video important for marketing today?
Well, it's important because your audience craves it. So I feel like it's important not because I think it's important or because you think it's important. For most audiences, including B2B audiences, which is a lot of the world that I live in is B2B, your audience demands video. So they want video. And for that reason alone, like you should do more often, frequent, and we'll get into all the details, but you got to do it. Your audience wants it.
Well, there's a lot of benefits doing video. Obviously, SEO growth, getting in front of your clients
Yeah.
and customers. It's 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 the norm today, and it should have been the norm a few years back. There's a lot of benefits to doing
10
video.
years ago and beyond.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
I always get this question asked, and I think we're in 2023 now, but you get I don't want to say objections or naysayers, but they say, well, I just don't have the budget to do video marketing. I don't have, or I just don't have a big enough budget.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that? And how do you address that issue?
That's honestly something that comes up a lot. So when I talk to owners or I'm talking to other marketing directors and they're thinking about budgets for video, I think their assumption is that they need to hire like a crew and a team and lighting and microphone and staging and you know all this kind of stuff for video. And like that's great for branding and that's great for a promotional video and it's good to have some of those. But what I'm generally talking about is video that you can capture from your cell phone. If you've got an iPhone 14, you're already there. um, Even cell phones that are 5, 6, 7 years old are great for capturing video. So doing video that way is great, and we can talk about some details there using your phone. Using video in a situation like this where I'm remote and you're remote and it's being captured, that's a great way to do video. We've done some great video capture via Zoom. Zoom is very inexpensive. So when we talk about video, it, there doesn't need to be a big budget. So for most owners, the conversation starts with like your target audience. So then it's what does your target audience listen to? What do they want? What are their desires? What questions do they have? And then we could talk about like what kinds of video to give them that helps you in your marketing. So it doesn't
I
need to
love,
cost a lot.
yeah, I love what you said, and when you talked about the targeted audience and what content to put out. But before we get into that, because you kind of led into kind of the next area that I wanted to address is
Uh,
you got to kind of go where your clients and customers are, because you mentioned the cell phone. Okay, back years ago, production costs for video have gone down considerably because, well, whether it's just iPhone or
mhm,
my Android or whatever, you can do
mhm,
production and you do a lot with your clients on that. So it's the cost doesn't have to be a barrier to entry. Like you said, Zoom call. We're using
Hmm.
a tool called StreamYard right now.
Hmm.
I've got a Sony camera that I'm hooked up to with a capture card. You may be using a webcam. I'm not sure what you're using. If you want to disclose that, that's cool. But it's
Laptop
easy
cam.
entry. Laptop cam. So
Yeah.
there we go. We're doing this interview
And by the
virtually.
way, think about, like, Doug, if we were going to do this in the 1980s, or we were going to try to do this in the 1990s, or maybe even the early 2000s, if we were going to try to do this, it would be a production. It would be expensive, and it would be really hard to do. So it would be impossible to do at some of those points in time. But if you're not taking advantage of the technology that you have now with your phone and with remote capture, like all these platforms, if you're not taking advantage of that, like that's just dumb. You didn't even have this opportunity in the 80s and the 90s or even early 2000s. So, it's next to free. And I feel like sometimes we forget how much opportunity we have in front of us just because we see it every day. But it's there, and we need to start using more of it.
No, there it's obviously a tool out there, and we could talk endless amounts of time on the benefits of video being
Yeah.
more personalizing, more engaging, helps boost SEO,
Hmm.
increases sales. Those are all teed up for you to do video. So that
Hmm.
production level, albeit it depends on your targeted audience. In some cases, you'll want to hire an agency or you'll want to go full tilt with actors and video and the whole nine. But in some
Hmm.
cases, like you said, it's getting the message out. It's
Hmm.
not. So you've addressed the issue about the budget. Now you also alluded to a little bit about that answer with the budget is what your clients and customers want. So how do you determine, what to capture? Better yet, I know it's storytelling, but what are your thoughts
Hmm.
about what to capture or what to talk about in video? Because you got to have a strategy,
Hmm.
and you are the strategy guy here. So
Hmm.
strategize on that. Why, what content, when, what, and how, Mr.
Dr-
Jones?
dr- Lay down the strategy.
Yeah, lay it out for them to play it out.
Lay it out. When I'm talking with owners, we start with their story. It's like, all right, what is it that you're trying to communicate to your audience? Um, what makes you unique? What makes you special? Why do your clients keep buying from you? What is the message that you're trying to convey to your audience? Um, there's a great book out there, Donald Miller, Story Brand Marketing. That's a great book to go through if you haven't already. But, like, understand what that story is. What are you trying to communicate to your audience? And when you have an idea of what that is, you can do that for the life of your communications. You can continue to tell that story in pieces and parts for eternity, with your audience. So, knowing that, knowing who your audience is, what do they want to know? A lot of the video will capture, in relation to your story and your audience, is around what do they want to know? Like, like my audience, the accounts that I'm working with, business owners I'm working with, have a really good sense of who their audience is. So what do they want to know? What questions do they have? What are and sometimes the best person to ask that question to is your salespeople. Ask your salespeople, hey, what's the common questions that our prospects keep asking? Ask your customer service people, hey, what's the common questions that our clients keep asking? Um, there's tools online to find out common questions that are being asked around a topic according to Google. I mean, how valuable of a resource is that? You type in a question, and Google can tell you, here's all the questions that are being asked right now around that topic. Great.
I like you source from your clients and customers. What are the problems? And you mentioned Google.
Mhm.
There's another person or another AI person on the block called Chat GPT. They may have a little take too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
there's
love
there's
that.
things, and I know you're coming from a copywriting perspective, and that's a whole other topic. But I
Hmm.
love what you said about, first of all, you led with stories and in Donald Miller in his book and that
Hmm.
content. So you having a story, finding out video that solves a problem, because just doing a video for the sake of doing a video is like random acts a video. You want to address a problem, a
Yeah.
need, because it's in the viewpoint for your audience, right? It's
hmm
not.
You're only doing it for your audience. You're not doing
Hmm.
it for your own self glory. Honestly, I'm not doing this for my self glory. Like, I'm doing this with you for my audience. Like, I want my audience to understand where to get started in video and not be afraid of video and how to use it more. So it's all about your audience, whoever your audience is.
It's all about your audience, and it's all about
hmm
solving a problem or solution. And I've
Yeah.
done training series. It's not about me, but I've done a lot of content on video, and there's different levels of video for different engagements for
hmm
buying or services, testimonial videos, post sales, client relation videos, PR
Yeah.
videos, training videos, you name it, you claim it. Video works in every capacity, but at the end of the
hmm
day, it's still got to have a story. It's still got to solve a problem, and it's still got to deliver value to your audience. I mean, would you
hmm
agree with that?
I love video for testimonials. Because as everybody knows, if you say how great you are, that's great, and that only goes so far. But like, if someone that your audience doesn't even know says this person is great, I've used them, they've helped me do X, Y, and Z, that's someone else obviously saying that you're great. And if you've got a bunch of those on your website and on your social and on your YouTube channel and everywhere else, as people are doing research, because people are doing research on, they're either going to buy from you or they're going to buy from your competition. That's obvious. So they're doing research, and if other people are saying how great you are, obviously, you know, people are going to say, all right, well, I might have to be one of those people. So video for testimonials, and reviews, um, and recommendations are key.
I like to say leverage the voice of the customer. Better yet, let's visualize the video of the customer, because
Yeah.
seeing is believing, and from your peers and all that.
hmm
That is something, to consider when you're leveraging video. I say when you're going to start out with video,
100%.
maybe start out with your clients and customers doing testimonials on your behalf.
hmm
It's all about the base of clients and the services that you provide. Now, we're
hmm
inundated with a lot of video content out there now, or different forms of video. And this keyword is form. I hear the term short form video, and then long form video, maybe short form
hmm
video under a minute, maybe long form video, kind of like what we're doing here. In this case, this is a long form interview,
hmm
but I will chop it into short form 30-second clip. So it's the best of both worlds. I want to hear
hmm
your perspective on short form and long form video, and maybe even vertical and horizontal.
hmm Well, both have their place. So when owners talk with me about, should I do short form video, 30 seconds, or should I do long form video? The answer is generally yes. Um, Short form is generally going to be better for your audience that doesn't know you. Because if I don't know you and I'm seeing a video of you on YouTube and it's, an hour long, I might not be inclined to watch it, or I might just watch a little bit of it. But like, if I know you and you're, you know, in my network, or your clients, or your whatever, short or long form will be better, just because, I'm probably going to spend a little bit more time in that. So short form is going to be great for social, and it's going to be better for your prospects who don't know you. And then, to your point, a lot of what we like to do is capture long form, so that, so it's the hardest part, even in our situation, is to, like, get time for on your calendar, get time on my calendar, and then make it happen. So sometimes the hardest part is just doing it. But when you've got that opportunity, do your 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, and then a good video editor can splice it up and chop it up, and now you have long form and you have short form. So, because maybe you take a little snippet of a pearl of wisdom that I'm maybe offering, and then that becomes a 15
Right.
second clip, and then maybe something else I've said becomes a 90-second clip, and then something else becomes the 5 minute piece. So, you've got content for days. And by the way, speaking of content, when you do that, what we generally like to do is, have it recorded, and then transcribe it. You can get it transcribed really easily, and now all of that becomes text. So now you've got content for your blogs, you've got text content for your social media posts, you've got text content for your email campaigns, or stuff you might want to have for a landing page or whatever. So you do it one time, you do one 30-minute thing, it gets snipped up, content for days, transcribed, content for days, repurpose it later, talk about it 3 months later, content for days. So, and that's just on one piece of content. So,
One piece of, like, okay, a 30-20 minute long form interview. I love that because you can have a client, hey, I'm going to interview you for, or do a video for 20-30 minutes, whatever the long
hmm
form, chopping that into short segments. That's pieces of content. You can get 5 pieces, sound bites. Like you said,
hmm
if you drop some knowledge and a word of wisdom, transcribing that into text, or even taking that and making an audio or a podcast out of that, or
hmm
creating that content and transcription in a video ebook. It keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. And it's amazing how video can streamline your content efficiency
hmm
process.
One funny thing that we've been experimenting with is, all right, you did the video, you flipped it up, you transcribed it, you got a little piece. Take that piece, use it in your social media and everything. But you could take that piece, drop it into Chat GPT, and Chat GPT will rewrite something for you around that entire topic, and now you have another piece of content. So, going back to talking about Chat GPT and content AI, you can take content and have it rewritten, which is more content. Because I'm a big fan of, you know, doing 2 to 3 social media posts a day, at least, or doing 2 to 3 video pieces a day, at least. I feel like a lot of people get scared when they really know it should be like 5 pieces a day. But like it's possible to do that. We've given a lot of ideas on that just with one 20-minute interview. So imagine if you did an interview a week or something, you could do 4 or 5 pieces of content a day. So, and your audience will absorb it, by the way. So you're not saying too much. You're never saying too much.
You're never saying too much, and it kind of leads me into kind of the topic of how often you should be making videos. But
hmm
like you said, you 3-4 times a day. It also is a point where are you putting the videos? If
hmm
you put it on a social network like LinkedIn, you put it on your blog post, your website, Twitter, Instagram,
hmm
TikTok, whatever the case is. And
hmm
it all comes down to even format, because you could take this is a landscape mode interview style, but you could take a snippet and make it into the vertical format on your phone that you would see
hmm
on TikTok or Instagram. And so from one piece of content, you could have several pieces of content.
hmm
And so how often should you be making videos? I have an answer to that, but I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Sure. Um, there's trying to think where I want to start with that because there's so many places I'd like to maybe start with that. I'm going to start with what does Google want? So Google wants content. Google wants lots of relevant new um, content that's engaging, and they want engaging content because their customers are people that are absorbing and watching your video. So um, content is needed by Google for SEO. So, with that being the case, you want to do as much of it as you can. If you want Google to send people that are looking for your services or your products but don't even know you, if you want Google to send them to you, you got to put out a lot of content around that. So, my um, recommendation based on what actually works is to do as much as you can. So you could do content of, you know, people in your office, or if you're a home remodeling company, you've got people in the field that you could capture video on. Your testimonials, when you've got people in the field. You can do, if you've got a warehouse space, we have clients that have big, large warehouses with people that are in there working. and just capturing video of, hey, Rob, you're doing a great job today. Rob's working on this. He's been working on it for a couple weeks now, and Rob has a little conversation. All right, good job, man. Keep it up. Boom. That's a cool piece of content, and that took you nothing to do. You're probably on your way to go get coffee anyway. So being able to like pull the curtain back of your company and share the culture and the people is powerful for video. And that's what we're getting more and more companies to do, especially in the B2B space. The B2B space is generally been terrible about using video for your audience. And your audience, like, they want to know what's going on behind the scenes, and they want to see what's happening behind the curtain. I mean, that's half of television shows now is, or streaming shows now is, behind the scenes stuff or the real story, and that kind of stuff. So you can do that within your company of the story of your brand. So stop with the posting about generic promotional posts about we can save you 15 percent over like no one cares. They want to know the story. They want to
They
be able
don't
to like
care if you stayed
relate.
at a Holiday Inn Express last night and, were able to do this and save 20% on your car insurance, and
That's right,
because
exactly.
we got this promotion because it's advertising. What I want to unpack a few things of what you said, because I like the idea. We were talking about, how often you should do posts. You just kind of said, I'm just doing a day in the life of business. I may be walking through, let's say I'm a manufacturing plant or the factory, and I'm walking through and I'm showing Bob doing good work. That's just all it's like creativity in action. It's like
Hmm.
everyday life. It's
Yeah.
but the pull the curtain and do those behind the scene videos because people crave that stuff. And it
Hmm.
also shows, well, real authenticity, what's really happening, as opposed to
Hmm.
I'm on video now and I'm going to pitch you on how to do this. Well, let me show you how great your products and services are being manufactured from real people,
Hmm.
real time video. That's what I took away.
Hmm.
Behind the scenes, great. We could really go into that, but that's another type of video. And I think we're a little bit tired of the ad copy anyway. There's a need for PR. There's a need for community cultural engagement, or behind the
Hmm.
scenes of how your company does something, or behind the scenes of everything that you do. I just love that. I think that was a great
Well,
opportunity to do
and
that.
people have
Let you get Go
people
ahead.
people have to know you before they're going to buy from you. People have to like you before they're going to buy from you. So one of the ways as a brand to get people to like you is to demonstrate who you are and who your people are, and I almost in a funny way kind of want to think of it as kind of you're running your own reality TV show in a way, and I don't know if that sounds overwhelming to a company or not, but you really kind of can in pieces and parts, where you're just sharing the culture of who your great company is, even if you have 3 people that work with you, or if you have 300 people that work with you, just sharing that. And by the way, there's people that I know that will watch this that are like, they're independent. They have, it's just, me, myself, and I. And you can do that in so many ways. That's even easier. You're just capturing you. You could be on your way to a networking event, or on your way to a client meeting, or in the car coming back from a client meeting, or stepping outside with a cup of coffee and your dog, and you're talking about, it's all of that, capturing your story, just in little parts and pieces. So anyway, we can have a
No,
whole show just on that.
no, but that's tremendous, because you talked about, an individual. You also said
Mhm.
something earlier, and I kind of want to unpack that. You talked about where, I guess, B2B has been kind of missing the opportunity for
Big
this.
time.
And I want you to expound on that a little bit. But you just finished up talking about the individual doing that. But let's go in. Let's talk a little bit about, how they're not showing the behind. Elaborate a little bit
Mhm.
more on that, because you just threw that in there like, yeah, that's pretty profound. I'd like to hear a little bit more on that.
On the B2B side,
Yes.
yeah, I feel like, I don't know, in B2B, and that's generally the world I've lived in for the longest time. There's this perception of, you know, just this iron curtain of, you know, we're the brand and this is our logo, and you don't kind of see anything behind the scenes other than what we're going to put in front of you promotional wise, and you're only going to get to see us as promotional. And I feel like a lot, and you'll see this in a lot of B2B companies social media posts where it's all promotional, and maybe they don't think they're being promotional, but they're not being real. They're here's why we're great, here's why we're amazing, and you know here's a testimonial from a client, and hey, we got a special, and um, we're the biggest in the industry, and we're the best in the. That's all promotional. That's all sales. And I feel like a lot of even video work from B2B, social media posts from B2B is typically sales. It's like a salesperson wrote it. Um, that's not what your audience wants. That's the last thing your audience wants. And you're kind of pissing your audience off, and they're going to go somewhere else. And that's why you're getting, 2 clicks on your, Facebook post, or 2 likes on your LinkedIn post. It's like no one cares. So um, that's why doing video where you can pull the curtain back, show the culture, tell your story, because every company, no matter if you do parts and pieces in manufacturing, like most people might not care about that, but your audience cares about that. The buyers of that care a lot about that, and you have all kinds of stories you can tell around that, and it can be captured via video. So give the audience what they want.
Give them
Let
what
them
they
know
want.
more about you. Yeah.
No, I love that concept behind the scenes, and elaborate a little bit more where B2B might be missing out, and that
Mhm.
over commercialized uh, pushing product and service at somebody is just another. It gets lost in the noise of advertising
Yeah.
and promotional videos.
There's a lot of it.
Which which kind of leads me to my next thing, because we've talked about, okay, being real, being authentic, telling your story, yada yada yada. Um, I look at this question, and we kind of addressed it in the beginning, is that, from a professional lighting, microphone setup, what's generally needed? Now, it depends on the quality. If you're doing a major ad campaign, you're going to have different different
Mhm.
equipment and stuff, but there's different levels of entry with lights, camera, action. Let's go. What are your thoughts about professional setup, lighting, and audio?
Yeah, I mean, if you are gonna do like a promotional video, um, we helped another company do one where basically, it was a one-person camera person, and then they had the mic, follow them through the opening of their new location. So like the owner opened the door, and then the camera came through, and we made sure we had good lighting, and made sure that there was like Bluetooth wireless mics on the people that were talking, and so like that's a service you'd want to hire out and get the right company to do, that knows what they're doing. But those you might do once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year, once every other year. It's not going to be very frequent. The more videos you're going to tend to do are going to be from your phone, literally.
Okay. Oh, okay. From a lower, not lower production, because you can get quality video
Oh yeah.
4K on your phone. Couldn't do
Hmm.
that, back 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I like what you said about, okay, if you're gonna go with
And
the
and
high
this,
end,
by
you
the way,
make
too.
yeah.
Like this setup, with it's your remote, I'm remote. I got a little ring light. You probably have a ring light. I don't have any fancy microphones. You've got the nice microphone,
Well,
but
so
like, and that's minimal. Probably spent like $20 on Amazon on my end.
yeah, I spent a little more on this microphone than $20, but
Yep.
the point, but I get what you're saying. Dual ring
Hmm.
lights, and I've got a mirrorless camera and a capture card rolling through, but the quality, I don't know if it is what it
Yeah.
is.
It's
But
clear.
you get what you spend. But you talked about, if I'm going with a high end production, then more than likely that video maybe once, twice a year you're doing that.
Yeah. Hmm.
But with that, I'm going to just throw this as an extra topic. If you're going to do this, is in layman's terms, if you're going to do a high end once in a while video, like once or twice a year, position that as evergreen content. Get the most
Hmm.
mileage out of your video. I think that's one of the things that people do. I love the
Hmm.
behind the scenes. You put out a lot of video content. That's great. You can cover your bases because what's tomorrow will change the next day in the future. Everything's constantly changing. But I just recommend like an evergreen style of video that can you're going to get more
Hmm.
mileage out of it. Um, and it,
Absolutely.
and that's just something that I would say. How do you recommend people getting started, getting your team engaged with video, your business?
Hmm.
You can take that from individual level and from a company level, however you want to address that. How do you get started? How do you recommend that? Good way to get started.
Yep. Generally, the best way to get started is to get over your fear of getting started. I feel like I've had this conversation more than more times than I can count. And no matter what the reason is that they haven't gotten started, I feel like they always the real reason is it's like fear of it not looking good, or they're saying the wrong thing, or they don't like how they look on video. And by the way, if you don't love how you look on video, you can have somebody else do it. You could do audio. You could, you know, do video off camera and transcribe it. Whatever. There's other solutions, but it's always fear. Um, Honestly, the best way to get started is to get started. So know what your story is, know what you want to communicate, and just begin talking about it. And for a lot of people, they feel like they have to be polished and they have to, if you're the expert, I got to present myself as the expert, and I get that, but maybe you're just on a journey. So if you're fearful of not feeling like you're going to come across knowing what you're talking about, you can say, "Hey, I'm starting my journey on, whatever it is that you do," so that people can follow you on this journey of you um, learning your ways and your expertise around whatever it is that you're doing. So, if you have a bigger company, then I would start to communicate. To say, hey, you know what? We're finally going to start doing more video. Put a plan together on what that should look like. If there's other people that are going to be involved, like maybe you have people in the field that need to start capturing video, you can have the conversation with them and then kind of an outline of what that needs to look like. And it's an evolving thing, by the way, too. So, your plan on getting started is going to change in a week, in a month, in 2 months. So, but begin to just do. Um, and I feel like that in itself, if you actually do and you put some good stuff out there, a month later, you're going to have much more. A month later, you have much more. And you're going to forget about how difficult it seemed to start doing video for your marketing. So,
The momentum will take over once you
oh,
get
yeah.
one or two in, you get more comfortable. I think one of the teachable moments from what you said in the process that I like to do as an editor is I'll go back and look at the videos I did back a while back, and I'm like, okay, I got it done. It's completed. It's out. But look, analyzing, okay, what have I learned from that? And we're all visual learners. And how can I build on that?
Hmm.
So I think video is a great tool from that standpoint. You can say, okay, I didn't like what I did there. So the next time I would do that. So it's like
Hmm.
you're being your own video director of your content, but you got to
Hmm.
start with some content to be able to do that. I'm just expounding on that. Like you said, getting started, getting over your fear, and I recommend just doing some short
Yep.
clips on your phone, and if you're
Hmm.
uncomfortable, sharing it with a peer group of audience that's not as I guess safe zone,
Well,
and then
and
build.
and I'm just like you're a good resource for people too, because if I've talked to people, they're like, well, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to talk about. Okay, let's start with like having someone like you, Doug, like interviewing them on a platform like this, and then they'll know what to talk about because like you're asking questions and they answer the
Mhm.
questions. So like that's a great way to get started too, is in an interview style. Um, We've done some in the past where they were conversation styles. This again could be a StreamYard platform. There's other platforms out there where subject matter expert, you and anybody else, just kind of has a conversation. Maybe it's you and your COO. Maybe it's you and a salesperson. Maybe it's you and a colleague. Maybe it's you and a prospect. Maybe it's you and a client. Maybe there's 3 people because with StreamYard, you can do more than 2 people. I don't know what the limit is, but anyway, but like if you're hesitant around you being the focal point in the video, then bring somebody in. Make it an interview or make it a
Yeah,
conversation.
that's such a golden tip right there.
Yeah.
Because being able, if you, there's just between being solo on video and go, here are my 5 tips, and I'm going to do this, and as opposed to you and I having a conversation, and the cameras
Hmm.
are relevant at that point. You're just
Hmm.
talking, and there happens to
Okay,
be
Doug,
footage
what are
coming.
your 5 tips? I could
Yeah,
ask you, and then you could talk about it. Yeah.
right. And it's just it's more conversational, or you just
Hmm.
flowing. I find myself totally different when I'm see right now. I'm like in the interview mode with you, and my
Hmm.
objective is to bring out your story to our audience, and I'm trying. I'm doing
You're
doing what
doing
I can.
you're
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah, but the other thing is if I'm being interviewed, it's a whole different thing. I
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like more relaxed. Like, did I actually say that? Oh yeah, I did because the host brought it out in me, or it's more conversational.
Yeah.
When I'm doing direct to camera by myself doing training videos, some of those come out great. Some of those, take 42. It's just
Hmm.
what it is. But the
Hmm.
point is, take 42 or take two, get your reps in, get over your fear,
Hmm.
conversational style, practice among your peers. Those are all ways to get started. And speaking of
Hmm.
getting started, we're in 2023 right now. And first of all, is there anything else that you want to cover on video? Because I'd like to talk about some trends in
Hmm.
2023 from a social media marketing perspective. But
Um,
anything else that you would like to wrap on the topic of video?
I would say there would be so much. I feel like we could go another hour. Um, One thing I would say is like where to put your video. I don't know if we really kind of covered that, but I want to make sure that people are aware. Like, when you've got video, you certainly want to make video that you could use for social. And then, by the way, understand that the audience on Facebook is different than the audience on LinkedIn, and it's different than the audience on TikTok. So, kind of a phase 2 for you might be when you're capturing video, where you talk about it in a little bit different way that you would put on LinkedIn, which might be different than you might put on Facebook. Um, and it's funny because, like, that's how we are in life. Like, if I'm talking with someone, friends at a bar about business, I'm still me talking about business, but I'm with my friends at a bar, so it's a different context. If I
Right.
then go to a networking event, I'm still me, I'm still talking about business, but it's a different context. It's a different room, if as it were. So same thing with LinkedIn. You're still you. You're still talking about whatever you're talking about, but it's a different. People are on LinkedIn to learn and to um, talk about business and things like that. Facebook is going to be more relaxed. Instagram is going to be more relaxed. TikTok will be very fun and relaxed. So context is key. So when you're posting video, so real quick on around that, make sure they go to YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube channel, you want to build up your YouTube channel. That's going to be, I mean, that's the number 2 search engine on the planet is YouTube. Your videos can go on your blogs. Um, One beautiful thing we like to do is take that little clip, have that clip transcribed. That becomes your blog. You need to edit it, but that becomes your blog with a video sitting on top. Um, Use that video in your social, use that video in YouTube, use that video on your blog, drop an email to your contact list with that clip. That becomes a use. So make sure that you're using that video in the touch points of your audience. And that would be maybe my tip around that because you want to get good use out of that time that you put in to create the video. So,
I love how you said that, and I always talk about like the 4 or 5 C's of video. You got to have the right content. You got to have the right context. Like, is it going on LinkedIn audience? Is it a Twitter audience? Is it at
hmm
a, a lighthearted comedic audience, or is it serious stuff? So you got to have the right context. Got to be
hmm
on the right channel. Have a call to action, and
hmm
just and know context is just as important as content, but it's got to be on the right channel.
hmm absolutely.
And that's what it is. It's 2023, and I want to pull up an article. Actually, you put it out there on I believe it was on Twitter, and it talked about trends, and it was from an article here from social
Mhm.
Sprout Social. It was
Sprout
11,
Social.
yeah,
Mhm.
Sprout Social. You shared this week, so I did my homework, and we talked about 11. They talked about 11 social media trends that you need to know in 2023. I'm going to pull back a little bit more about video and talk a little bit more about some of these trends, and I would love to hear your insight. And I just want to share if number one, or however you want to take it, but we want to talk about edutainment. I'd like to hear your perspective on that.
Mhm.
And we're going to share this article up. We're not going to cover all 11, or it could be any trend. So the floor is yours. I'm going to let you just knock out some 2023 trends, and we'll
Yeah.
go from there.
How about I'll pull out maybe three and just talk on them real quick. Um,
Okay,
I'll probably have to have you pop it up there again. I know the first one was
sure.
edutainment. We should talk about that one super quick, but we'll talk about maybe a few real fast. Um, yeah, edutainment, and I feel like for the audience, you probably get it. Like you, as an audience, listening to this, watching this, you want to be entertained. That's oftentimes why we might be on our device, is to unwind or relax or just kind of um, be in the moment and not be necessarily learning. So when you're creating content that's information that your audience needs, again, going back to your salespeople, what's the common question your salespeople ask? Okay, it's this. You can make a video piece of content that's entertaining. It doesn't have to be you, you know, programmatically saying the answer to that question. You could be walking your dog. I don't know. There's ways that you can be entertaining in that response while still being educational to your audience. So be thinking about um, interesting ways that captures you as your brand. Um, know your audience and understand the room, but there's ways that within that context you can make it entertaining. And there's actually a lot of like post-production video tools to make it interesting as well too, with graphics and things like that. So think about that. And I guess the whole point around just that is when you're making content that's educational, think about ways that you could also make it entertaining. And you could probably come up with one, and I would try that. So, and by the way,
That's
when you do it, if it doesn't hit, if you don't get all the likes and the hits that you like, maybe do a tiny little tweak and do it again, a few days later. So,
beta test it, fall back to see what works and what doesn't. I agree with that trend from that article. Edutainment is definitely on the rise. Are there any other trends that in our time we're spending together that you'd like to touch on?
what were they again? I don't have it pulled up in front of me. Let's see. You want to do a quick scroll?
Yeah, I can do a quick scroll. We've got businesses will put more money behind video production. I think we kind of covered that, but if you
Hmm.
wanted to add to that, and the one that I really want your insight on is Be Real will
Oh yeah, be
be a
real.
turning point for brands. Um, I'd like to hear your perspective on
Yeah,
Be Real,
be
if you could, or there are other trends.
be real is fun. Be real. Basically, with that app, it will notify you when to take a picture of whatever is going on in the moment, and it could be 8 in the morning or 8 at night. It's every day, and everyone in your circle is doing the same thing. So with Be Real, it takes a picture front and back. So it takes a picture of what you're looking at using your phone, and then takes your picture. So it's really kind of fun because it's less of a staged Instagram beautiful picture where you're sitting on the beach with your toes up and a cocktail in your hand. Although if that's what you're doing when your notification comes in, then that's great. But a lot of times you're at the grocery store or you're, at an event or whatever. So it's just kind of fun because you're being real in the moment, and it gives you an opportunity for whoever in your circle to see how they're being real in that moment. And it's a cool way to connect your friends even more, because you see them every day, and they might have their kids in the picture or their dog in the picture. So be real's fun, and I can see that taking off. I feel like the trend is more around authenticity and not
Right.
about fake sitting on
It's
the
a
beach.
tool that, and it's a tool
Yeah,
that plays right into that. And there's tools like I'm seeing more and more talk about the metaverse, and that was one of the trends. I think it was
mhm.
number 11 on the list. Any thoughts on that at all, or any other
That's
trends that you?
yeah, that's cool. I've been digging into that a little bit. It's it'll be interesting. It's worth investigating, and I've started to get into that myself just to learn it. That's where things are going, where one day, Doug, you and I would be able to go to some virtual place and see live music happening with whoever in our circle is invited to go, and we might be sitting on our couch, but we're, you know, watching and listening to a concert and looking over and seeing you and looking over and seeing my friend, and we're at the concert, but virtually. So that's coming, and there'll be all kinds of marketing opportunities around that.
Yeah, I've had a little taste of that. I've not to cut you off, but one of the interviews I did with Victor Antonio created. He's a sales leader, trainer, expert. Did a thing called Sales World in the Metaverse. Now you're not wearing Oculus glasses and all that, but you have an avatar and you go into a virtual platform. But within that, you're allowed to network with others at the event through video
mm,
chats. So we're getting there. Not wearing the
that's
glasses, but
cool.
you're immersed. But he created speakers, trainers, but he had like an entertainment room, a hall of legends, a movie theater. He had
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff. And it was that we're touching that, but that's another interview that you can check out on the links below. But more importantly, other trends that you'd like to talk about, or before we wrap it up, or I think we're
Nah, we could wrap it up. If I think of one, I'm gonna think of another. Then I'm gonna think of another, and then
all
it'll be
right.
nighttime, and it'll be like, Steven, I gotta go to bed. So,
So what Steven's saying is we're going to take a hard stop and close this out. Before we wrap officially, though, anything else, your parting shot that you would like to say to our audience?
I hope this was helpful. I hope it was beneficial for you that's listening and watching. I would encourage you to um, pick the piece out of this interview that you feel like you need to do better on or do more of, and just focus on that piece. If it's telling your story or identifying your story, or if it's doing the first video, or if it's doing more video, or if it's doing edutainment video, whatever in this interview was something that spoke to you that you would like to do more of, um, do it today.
I love that. I want to thank you for coming on in layman's terms. As Steven said, if there's a piece of content, definitely share with your community. We will have the full video, but like speaking to what we talked about, we'll have some shorter segment clips as well. I'm Doug, bringing it down in layman's terms. I want to thank my special guest, Steven Jones. Check out his content. I want to thank you out there, more importantly, for social watching.